Tiruchitrambalam. Once the Universal Mother Parvati enquired of the Lord Parameshwara, Lord, tell me, who is your favorite? The Lord replied, more than anyone else, including you, Sirutonda Nayanar, pleases me more. At another time, when Karaikal Ammayar reached Kailash, taking the form of a ghost, Shiva told his lady, Parvati, she is our beloved mother. She fed our devotees and she is worthy of your homage. Right from the 9th century saints to the Maharshi of the last century, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, all paid homage and prayed to the 63 Nayanmars and said, let me become a devotee of the devotees. Such is the glory of the devotees of the Lord, irrespective of Puranic or philosophical names attributed to the Lord. Jnana Sambandar lived in the 7th century AD and he lived only up to 16 years. He is said to have composed about 2 lakh verses of Devaram, but now about 4,100 verses, 384 padikams are available, which forms the first, second, third Tirumurais of Saiva Siddhanta aphorisms. His life is dealt widely in Periya Puranam and the 11th Tirumurai of Saiva Siddhanta aphorisms and in the Kshetra Puranas of Sirgai as well as Achalpuram.
வேதநெறி தழைத்தோங்க மிகு செய்வ துறை விளங்க பூத பரம்பரை பொலிய புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத பூத பரம்பரை பொலிய புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத.
Tiruchitrambalam. To restore the Vedic and Saivite tradition and to glorify the devotees of Shiva, the child saint Tirujnana Sambandar was born in Sirgai. Let me narrate the life of that baby saint. Thus sings Shekhayar, the author of Periya Puranam. Pillai Padi Puranam Padi is a quote in Tamil. Of the total 4,286 verses on the life of the 63 saints in Periya Puranam, more than 1,200 verses, the life of Jnana Sambandar alone is dealt with. So, the above quote says that half of Periya Puranam is on the life of Sri Jnana Sambandar alone. Sirgai or Brahmapuram near Chidambaram has 11 other names connected to the holy sports of Lord Shiva in that small town. There lived in the 7th century AD a divine couple, Shivapada Hridaya and Bhagavati. It was the time when Shiva Bhakti was in low ebb. The couple constantly prayed to the Lord to grant them a child who could restore the Saivite tradition. The same was granted and a child was born on the Ardra star like Subramanya to the Universal Mother Parvati. At the age of 3, Jnana Sambandar would make a Shivalinga out of mud and worship it while the other children were engaged in their usual play. To the joy of his parents, he would also produce a small chariot and pull it around the streets, installing a Shivalingam therein. One day, the boy insisted to go with his father to the local temple and Shivapada carried him on his shoulder. On reaching the temple tank, the father left the baby on the steps and went to take a dip. While he immersed himself in the water, the boy, not finding his father, started crying. Lo and behold, soon Lord Shiva and the Universal Mother Parvati appeared before the child. She lifted the boy, wiped his tears, kissed his forehead, and cajolingly laid him on her lap. In a trice, she produced a gold cup and filled it with her milk. Was it not this milk that had given rare wisdom and devotion to Ganesha and Guha? As she lovingly offered the cup, Sambandar eagerly held it to his rosy lips and imbibed the milk to the last drop. Now Shivapada Hridaya, who had been in a different mode and mood of worship, was unaware of this wondrous spectacle. His ritual drawn to a close, he emerged from the tank and saw his son's face radiating bliss par excellence. There were streaks of milk around his rosy lips, and his hands clasped the golden receptacle in sweet gratitude. The father wondered at this sight and questioned in a harsh tone, with a stick on hand, "Darling, who gave you the milk, the traces of which I see on your cheeks? Tell me now." This sharp query evoked in reply a perennial spring of sweet and chaste Tamil poetry to gush forth like the surging Ganga from the boy's mouth, originating from deep within his heart. It was to flow spontaneously and unintermittently all through his life, inspiring the multitudes ever after. As a response to his father's enquiry, he pointed to the temple tower where the universal parents had disappeared after blessing him with the milk of knowledge. Shivapada Hridaya was unable to find anything other than the tower. In a soul-stirring decade, Jnana Sambandar described the various insignia and embellishments of the divine parents, starting with the dangling earring of the Lord. He made it clear that it was the gracious act of the Lord and his lady that put an end to his dark nescience and the cycle of fearful and painful births.
தோடுடைய செவியன் விடையேறியோர் பூகள் மதிசூடி தோடுடைய செவியன் விடையேறியோர் பூகள் மதிசூடி காடுடைய சுடலை செய்த பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மானிவன் கண்டே பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பெம்மான் இவன்கள்
The 3-year-old lad thus sang extempore in sweet adoration of the Lord. Holding the milk bowl still in his hand, he danced in rapture to the enchantment of the Lord. It was a sight for the gods.
மாமரு மாளிகை மாடம் நீடு கோணிபுர திரையை மாமரை நான்கினோடங்கம் ஆறும் வல்லவன் வாய்மையினால் நாமரு கேள்வி நலம் திகழும் ஞானதம் வந்தன் சொன்ன நாமரு கேள்வி நலம் திகழும் ஞானதம் வந்தன் சொன்ன ஞானதம் வந்தன் சொன்ன பாமரு பாடல்கள் பத்தும் வல்லர் பார்முழுதாழ்பவரே பாமரு பாடல்கள் பத்தும் வல்லார் பார்முழுதாழ்பவரே பார்முழுதாழ்பவரே
From that day on started Jnana Sambandar's pilgrimage to temples in the Tamil land. To sing the glory of the Lord, he went near Sirgali, a place called Tiru, Badrivanam. Jnana Sambandar worshipped the Lord there with his composition of Devaram and clapped his little hand to the musical meter. The Lord handed him a golden symbol, Potralam, to the baby saint, and Mother Parvati initiated the sound, and thence they were addressed by the devotees as Talapurishwara and Dvanipradambal, that is, the mother who initiated the sound in the golden symbol, Vasai Kodutta Nayaki.
மடையில் வாழை பாய மடையில் வாழை பாய மாதரார் குடையும் பொய்கை போலக்காவுள மடையில் வாழை பாய மாதரார் குடையும் பொய்கை போலக்காவுள சாம்பற் பூச்சுங்கி சடையும் பேரையும் சாம்பற் பூச்சுங்கி உடையும் கொண்ட உருவமென்கூரோ சடையும் பேரையும் சாம்பற் பூச்சுங்கி உடையும்
Svetaranyeshwara in Tiruvenkadu near Mayavaram is sung by the three Nayanmas, Appar, Sundara and Jnana Sambandar. When the young Jnana Sambanda arrived near this holy village, he found that the area was covered with number of Shivalingas and called the Universal Mother to help him to reach the temple. Soon Mother Parvati appeared and carried him in her hip and left him in the temple to carry on his worship. Then Jnana Sambanda sang a decade of Devaram on the Lord Svetaranyeshwara.
கண்காட்டும் நுதலனும் கனல் காட்டும் கையனும் கண்காட்டும் நுதலனும் கனல் காட்டும் கையனும் பெண் காட்டும் குருநானும் பிறை காட்டும் சடையனும் பெண்
Shivapuram near Kumbakonam is a holy village. Here, Vishnu in Svetavaraha form worshipped Lord Shiva. Kubera, Ravana and Arunagirinatha and Saint Patinathar also did penance in this temple. When Jnana Sambanda approached this temple, he found that the earth around the temple area was fully covered with a number of Shivalingas. So he went rolling his body, that is, he approached the temple by Anga Pradakshinam and then sang the glory of the Lord here.
பூவம் வழி கனல் புனல் புவி கல்லை ஊரை மாறை திரிகுணம் அமர்நேரி பூவம் வழி கனல் புனல் புவி ககலை ஊரை மாறை திரிகுணம் அமர்நேரி தீபமாலி தரு சூரர் முதலியர்
Then Jnana Sambanda proceeded to his mother's birthplace, Tiru. It was a dry land at that time, and Jnana Sambanda sang his Devaram and converted the land cultivable then and there.
காரைகள் கூகை முல்லை களவாகை ஈகை படர் தொடரி கள்ளி கவிடி காரைகள் கூகை முல்லை களவாகை ஈகை படர் தொடரி கள்ளி கவிடி சூரைகள் பம்மி விம்பும் சூரைகள் பம்மி விம்பும் சுடுகாடமர்ந்த சிவன் மேய சோலை நகர்தான்.
Jnana Sambanda continued his holy yatra to Tiruthalai Alangadu, Tiruvalam, Pumbuhar, Tiruchaikadu, Tiruvenkadu, then Tirumullaivayil. Soon, Jnana Sambandar restarted his pilgrimage. One Tirunilaganda Yalpanar and his wife Madanga Chulamani rushed to have his darshan. After initial introductions, Yalpanar pleaded with Jnana Sambandar that if he could compose his Devaram, then he could serve him by setting them to music with his yard, and this service to him would continue till his last breath. One day, Jnana Sambandar and his party went to Chidambaram temple to have the darshan of Lord Nataraja. Jnana Sambandar saw that all the Dikshitas, the special priests of the temple, whose life was dedicated to the service of Lord Nataraja alone, were all in the form of Lord Shiva's attendants of Kailasha. Jnana Sambandar granted the special vision to the Yalpanar also. Then the latter requested Jnana Sambandar and the party to visit his native place, Tiru now called Rajendrapattinam. Accordingly, all went there and worshipped the Lord in the temple. From Irukattampuliur, Jnana Sambandar and all the devotees proceeded to Vriddachalam and Pennagadam and then to Tiruttunganai Madam and Maranpadi. So far, Jnana Sambandar was travelling by sitting on the shoulders of his father Sivapada Hridaya. Next, they were to go to Nelvayil Aratturai. The Lord appeared in the dream of a few Brahmins of Nelvayil Aratturai and ordered them, "My child is travelling a lot. I have kept in the shrine a pearl palanquin and umbrella. Give them to him." The Lord also informed Jnana Sambandar to accept them. Next day, on reaching the holy temple, out of joy, Jnana Sambandar composed a decade starting Yandai Ishan.
Yandai Itan Yamberuman Yeramarkadavul Yandeti Yandai Itan Yamberuman Yeramarkadavul Yandeti சிந்தை செய்பவர்க்கு அல்லார் சென்று கை கூடுவது அன்றார். சிந்தை செய்பவர்க்கு அல்லார் சென்று கை கூடுவது அன்றார். கந்த மாமலர் உந்தி கடும்புனல் நிவாமங்கு கரைமேல் கந்த மாமலர் உந்தி கடும்புனல் நிவாமங்கு கரைமேல் அந்தண் சோலை நெல்வாயில் அகத்துறை அடிகளும் அருகையே அந்தள் சோலை நெல்வாயில் அகத்துறை அடிகளும் அருகையே அகத்துறை அடிகளும் அருளே அகத்துறை அடிகளும்
the elders decided to perform Upanayanam, the thread investing ceremony, as per the custom for Brahmin boys. While performing the rituals, the priest declared, "Now we make you fit to receive the 4 Vedas." Jnana Sambandar explained the essence of those 4 Vedas to the astonishment of everyone. He also declared that the essence of the 4 Vedas is Panchaksharam, that is Namah Shivaya, and sang a decade to this effect. Jnana Sambandar also cleared the doubts of the Panditas in 4 Vedas.
துஞ்சலும் துஞ்சலில்லாத போதிலும் நெஞ்சகம் நைது நினைமின்னாள்தோறும் துஞ்சலும் துஞ்சலில்லாத போதிலும் நெஞ்சகம் நைது நினைவின்னாள்தோறும் துஞ்சலும் துஞ்சலில்லாத போதிலும் நெஞ்சகம் நைது நினைவின்னாள்தோறும் 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 பஞ்சகவத்து பஞ்சகவத்து அடி பார்த்த வந்த கூற்று வஞ்சகம் அற்று அடி பார்த்த வந்த கூற்று அஞ்ச உதைத்தன அஞ்செழுத்துமே வஞ்சகம் அற்று அடி பார்த்த வந்த கூற்று அஞ்ச உதைத்தன அஞ்செழுத்துமே அஞ்செழுத்துமே.
Here, the first meeting of Appar and Jnana Sambandar took place. Hearing that the child saint drank the milk of Mother Parvati, Appar rushed to meet him. Sensing Appar's arrival, Jnana Sambandar also rushed out to meet him with his party, and it was a divine meeting for both indeed. Though advanced in age, Appar fell at the feet of the young sage. Lifting him up with his tender hands, Jnana Sambandar accorded ceremonious homage to the saint, aged in piety and purity. Then on, they both continued the pilgrimage together. After having darshan at Tiruvayaru, they proceeded to Tirupachilachiramam. There, the local chieftain's daughter was struck with a deadly disease and was in coma. After all possible treatment, the lady was taken to the local temple and prayers were offered. There was no sign of improvement. Hearing the arrival of Jnana Sambandar to the temple, the chieftain rushed to receive him. Hearing the fate of his daughter, Jnana Sambandar arrived at the site and started his decade on the Lord.
பணிவளர் கொள்கையர் பாரிடம் தூண பணிவளர் கொள்கையர் பாரிடம் சூழ ஆரிடமும் பலி தேர்வர் பணிவளர் கொள்கையர் பாரிடம் சூழ ஆரிடமும் பலி தேர்வர்.
The lady got up as if from a deep slumber and was completely cured of her disease. After spending a few days there, Jnana Sambandar proceeded towards Kongunadu, followed by number of devotees.
அகமலி அன்போடு தொண்டர் வணங்க ஆச்சிராமத்து உரைகின்ற அகமலியன்போடு தொண்டர் வணங்க ஆச்சிராமத்து உரைகின்ற புகை மலி மாலை புனைந்தழகாய புகை மலி மாலை புனைந்தழகாய புனிதர் போலாம் இவர் என்ன புகை மலி மாலை புனைந்தழகாய புனிதர் போலாம் இவர் என்ன.
In Kongunadu, they went to the hill temple, Nagachalam, that is Tiruchengodu. The town was decorated to receive Jnana Sambandar and other devotees. They all climbed up the hill in the form of. The party proceeded to Bhavani town, where the two rivers, Bhavani and Kaveri, merged. The town people at that time were suffering from severe cold fever and were trying to get rid of it by sitting near the fire always. Noticing this, Jnana Sambandar composed a song asking the town people surrender to the Lord Tiru to get rid of all types of fever, including the disease called birth and death.
அவ்வீணைக்கு வீணை ஆம் என்று சொல்லும் அகுதறிவீர் 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 அவ்வீணைக்கு வினையாம் என்று சொல்லும் அகுதறிவீர் 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 அவ்வீணைக்கு வினையாம் என்று சொல்லும் அகுதறிவீர் 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 உய்வினை நாடாது உய்வினை நாடாது இருப்பதும் உந்தமக்கூற வந்தே உய்வினை நாடாது இருப்பதும் உந்தமக்கூற வந்தே உந்தமக்கூனமந்தே உந்தமக்கூனமந்தே கைவினை செய்தம்பிரான் கடல் போற்றுவது நாமடியோம் 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 கைவினை.
Then Jnana Sambandar proceeded to Tiruvabaduturai, that is Gomuktita Kshetram, with devotees. His father Sivapada Hridaya wanted to return to Shirgali to perform an yajna for the welfare of the world. He requested Jnana Sambandar to arrange the fund needed for the same. Jnana Sambandar composed a decade, Idarinum Talarinum. At the end of the Devaram, an attendant of the Lord dropped a big bag containing gold coins, which was happily taken by the father and proceeded to his native place.
இடரினும் தளரினும் எனதுரு நோய் தொடரினும் உனகடல் தொழுதழுவேல் இடரினும் தளரினும் எனதுரு நோய் தொடரினும் உனகடல் தொழுதழுவேல் கடல் தனில் அமுதோடு கலந்த நஞ்சை மேடரினில் அடக்கிய வேதியனே கடல் தனில் அமுதோடு கலந்த நஞ்சை மேடரினில் அடக்கிய வேதியனே இடரினும் தளரினும் எனதுரு நோய் தொடரினும் உனகடல் தொழுதெழுவேயே இடரினும் தளரினும் எனதுரு நோய் தொடரினும் உனகடல் தொழுதெழுவேயே கடல் தனில் அமுதோடு கலந்த நஞ்சை மிடரினில் அடக்கிய வேதியனே கடதனில் அமுதோடு கலந்த நஞ்சை விடரினில் அடக்கிய வேதியனே இடரினும் தளரினும் என குரு நோய் தொடரினும் புனகடல் தொழுதெழுவேயே கடல் தனில் அமுதோடு கலந்த நஞ்சை விடரினில் அடக்கிய வேதியனேயே வேதியனேயே இதுவோ எமையாடுமாறு ஈவதொன்றமக்கில்லையே அதுவோ உனதின்னருள் ஆவடு துறை அரணே இதுவோ எமையாடுமாறு ஈவதொன்றமக்கில்லையே அதுவோ உனதின்னருள் ஆவடு துறை அரணே அரணே.
Jnana Sambanda proceeded to Dharmapuram, the birthplace of Tirunilakanta Yalpanar's mother. The relatives of Tirunilakanta Yalpanar expressed that because of his accompaniment of the instrument Yal, Jnana Sambanda and his compositions were glorified. Pained at this, the Yalpanar begged Jnana Sambanda to forgive them and also show that Jnana Sambanda's songs are beyond the reach of his instrument. To this effect, Jnana Sambanda composed a special song which is now known as Yalmuripan, which could not be accompanied by the instrument Yal.
Madar madapidiyum மட அன்னமும் அன்னதோர் மாதர் மடப்பிடியும் மட அன்னமும் அன்னதோர் நடை உடை மாலை மகள் நடை உடை மாலை மகள் துணையன மகிழ்வர் துணையன மகிழ்வர் தாதவிழ் புன்னை கயங்கும் தாதவிழ் புன்னை கயங்கும் தாதவிழ் புன்னை கயங்கும் மலச்சிறை வண்டரை ஈதாதவிழ் புன்னை கயங்கும் மலச்சிறை வண்டரை தாதவிழ் புன்னை கயங்கும் மலச்சிறை வண்டரை எழில் பொழில் குயில் கயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் கயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் கயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் பயில் 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 தருமபுரம் பதியே எழில் பொழில் குயில் பயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் பயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் பயில் எழில் பொழில் குயில் பயில் எழில் தருமபுரம் பதியே தருமபுரம் பதியே தருமபுரம் பதியே
the dejected Yalpanar tried to break his instrument. At once Jnana Sambanda grabbed the yal and consoled the Yalpanar and his people that his songs were the grace of the Lord and hence they had to be evolved accordingly. Jnana Sambanda reached Tiruchattamangai, that is Sastramangalam, where Tirunilanakanayanar, that is Nilanagna, lived. Nilanagna received Jnana Sambanda and his party with due honor and made their stay comfortable for a few days. Though Nilanagna belonged to the Vedic class and was a regular fire worshipper, he allowed Tirunilakanda Yalpanar to stay and sleep near the sacrificial fire spot. And the fire god too approved the act by exhibiting special glow over 3 times. After this, Jnana Sambanda and his party proceeded to Tiruchengattangudi, that is Arunaranyam, where they were well received by Sirutonda Nayanar, that is Dabra Bhakta. Jnana Sambanda was proceeding towards Tirumarhal, that is Maruttupuram temple. There he heard the wailing of a woman which moved his tender heart. The story was as follows. A young woman eloped with her cousin to get married, and on the way they halted here. The bridegroom-to-be was bitten by a snake and died. Now the woman, left forlorn and dejected, sat beside the dead body and gave vent to her sorrow. Jnana Sambanda reached the spot, and at once the young lady fell at his feet and pleaded to revive, as without him she had no life. Jnana Sambanda was moved by the scene and addressed the Lord with a decade, Shadaya Enumal.
Shadaya Enumal, Charani Enumal, Vidaya Enumal, Veruva Vidungal, Sadaya Enumal, Charani Enumal, Vidaya Enumal, Veruva Vidumal, Veruva Vidumal, Veruva Vidumal, Madayar Kumbali, Madayar Kumbali, Malarum Marugal, Madayar Kumbali, Malarum Marugal, Madayar Kumbali, Malarum Marugal, Udayay Tagumo, Ival Ulmelive, Udayay Tagumo, Ival Ulmelive, Madayar Kumbali, Malarum Marugal, Udayay Tagumo, Ival Ulmelive, Ival Ulmelive, Ival Ulmelive.
As the song was in progress, the dead man woke up as if from sleep. Jnana Sambanda, the boy's age, had their wedding performed, blessed them and sent them away to their native place. Then Jnana Sambanda and the devotees, after worshipping the temple at Tirumarhal, reached Tirupugalur and spent some time there, staying in the mutt of Muruga Nayanar. Upper Nilanagna and Sirutondar and other devotees also joined them at different time in the mutt of Muruganayanar. Jnana Sambanda worshipped at many temples by composing Devaram, and through upper Jnana Sambandar heard the glory of Tiruvarur and proceeded there to worship Lord Tyagaraja. Jnana Sambandar was received with all honors, and he stayed there over a period singing the glory of Tyagaraja through many stanzas of Devaram. Later, Jnana Sambandar joined upper in Tirupugalur and both together started the pilgrimage. They visited Ambarmakhalam, later known for Somashimaranayanar, the Somayaji of Somayagam, and Tirukkadavur. Here they spent time with Kunguliyakkalaya and later proceeded to Tiruvili Midalai, Tejinivanam. During their stay, the town was suffering from severe famine, and when the both sages prayed to the Lord for intervention, the Lord replied that for the present His grace would be limited to them and their fellow devotees alone. After their daily morning worship, both were separately given a cup of gold coins to procure food items for feeding during the famine. Upper's cup of gold coins were traded readily as it shone with brilliance. Jnana Sambanda's cup of coins suffered purity and hence was accepted only at a discount, causing much delay in the feeding devotees of his camp. Noticing this, Jnana Sambanda prayed to the Lord with the decade, Vasitirave Kasu Nalguvir.
Vasitirave Kasu Nalguvir Machin Midalayir Yesal Yillaye Vasitirave Kasu Nalguvir Machin Midalayir Yesal Yillaye Iraivarayinir Maraikul Midalayir Karaikul Kasinai Muraimai Nalgume Iraivarayinir Maraikul Midalayir Karaikul Kasinai Muraimai Nalgume.
Then the Lord explained to Jnana Sambanda that upper earned his cup of gold by humble and manifold services, while Jnana Sambanda relied mainly on his special privilege with the Lord. From then on, there would be no discrepancy, the Lord assured. During the stay there, Jnana Sambanda had the vision of the Lord of Sigayi temple, and he sent most of his followers back to Sigayi, and with upper he proceeded to Vedaranyam temple. In times of yore, the Vedas, assuming the form of human, worshipped the Lord of knowledge there and sealed the main entrance. As upper and Jnana Sambanda preferred to approach the Lord from the main door, at the instance of Jnana Sambanda, upper sang 10 stanzas. Soon the sealed doors opened wide, all the devotees dashed inside and worshipped the Lord, and then upper appealed to Jnana Sambanda to close the doors and make them function normally. Jnana Sambanda began to sing. No sooner had he sung the first stanza than the doors closed shut.
Pannin நேர்மொழியால் உம்மை பங்கரோ மண்ணினார் பலம் செய்மறை காடரோ பண்ணின் நேர்மொழியாள் உமை பங்கரோ மண்ணினார் பலம் செய்மறை காடரோ கண்ணீனால் உம்மை காண கதவினை திண்ணமாக திறந்தருள் செய்மீனே. சத்துரம் மறை தான் துதி செய்து வணங்கும் மதுரம் போடில் சூழ்மறை காட்டுரை மைந்த. சத்துரம் மறைதான் துதி செய்து வணங்கும் மதுரம் போடில் சூழ்மறை காட்டுரை மைந்த. இது நன்கிறை வைத்தருள் செய்க, இது நன்கிறை வைத்தருள் செய்க. எனக்குள் கதவோ திரு காப்பு கொள்ளும் கருத்தாலே, இது நல்கிறை வைத்தருள் செய்க. எனக்குள் கதவோ திரு காப்பு கொள்ளும் கருத்தாலே.
That night, Lord Shiva appeared in the dream of Appar and bade him to go to Tiruvaimur. There he was blessed with a special darshan. Mangayarkarasi, that is Mahileshwari, the queen of Pandya kingdom in Madurai, was grieved over the downfall of Saiva tradition and was appealing to the Lord constantly for the retrieval of the Saivite tradition. Hearing the glories of Jnana Sambandar, she thought that Jnana Sambandar alone could retrieve the country from the clutches of Jainism. In consultation with the minister Kulachirayar, that is Kulabandana, messengers to Vedaranyam went to invite Jnana Sambandar to Pandya country. Learning that the invitation was accepted by Jnana Sambandar, Mangayarkarsi sent the minister to receive Jnana Sambandar with due honors, and she rushed to pray at the temple of Meenakshi Sundareshwara. Kulachiraya received Jnana Sambandar at the entrance of Madurai, and after courteous enquiries, Jnana Sambandar went to pray at the Meenakshi temple. As he was singing the glory of the Meenakshi Sundareshwara, Jnana Sambandar praised the Queen Mangayarkarasi and her greatness, though he never praised anybody other than the Lord. Kulachirayar introduced the Queen Mangayarkarasi to Jnana Sambandar in the temple. Now, Mangayarkarasi, looking at the baby saint, was apprehensive, as if she had committed a mistake by inviting him to challenge the Jains in thousands who have still the support of the king. But Jnana Sambandar addressed her through a decade. Manin nervi madarai, oh dear-eyed fair mother, since I have the grace of the Lord Sundareshwara, I am sure to win over the crooked Jains, however they are great in number.
மானின்னேர் விழி மாதராய் பழுதிக்கு மாபெரும் தேவிக. மானின்னேர் விழி மாதராய் பழுதிக்கு மாபெரும் தேவிக.
Then Jnana Sambandar proceeded to a mutt for his stay, which was arranged by the minister. The Jain monks had bad omen and were worried. They all went to the king Kubja Pandya, that is Gun Pandian, carrying the story that as a Saivite baby had camped in our country with an intention to win over them and suggested that if his mud was put into fire, the issue will be settled once and for all. Unfortunately, the king too agreed for this nasty act and went to his inner apartment. Having heard the proposal of the Jain monks from the king, the queen suggested that instead both the parties should be invited to establish the greatness of their faith, and whoever wins over shall be taken as the supreme and their faith should be followed in the country. She also met the minister and said that if any harm was done to Jnana Sambandar, both should take the responsibility and leave the world. The Jain monks went in secret and put fire to the mud where Jnana Sambandar stayed by their evil magic. However, the fire could not touch Jnana Sambandar and the mud. The fire assumed a human form and addressed Jnana Sambandar to show a target. Jnana Sambandar ordered the fire to go and hit back at its originators and the Pandya king as well, and to this effect he sang a Devaram Padigam. Thus redirected, the scorching fire planted itself in the erring king's body and manifested there as a fiery fever, and immediately the king lay paralyzed. After the failure of the Jain monks to cure the king with their mantra and medicine, the queen and the minister suggested that Jnana Sambandar should be invited to save the king. Mere mention of the name of Jnana Sambandar brought a cool feeling in the body of the king, and he agreed for the suggestion. At the sight of Jnana Sambandar, all the 8,000 Jain monks grew wild and protested. Heedless to the protests from the perverted gang, Jnana Sambandar, with his mind centered on the Lord's feet, sprinkled vibhuti, and at once the king began to feel much relief in body and soul. Then the king suggested that whoever cures him completely, he would adopt their faith. The Jains jumped at this opportunity and swarmed around the king, choosing his left side of the body. They sprinkled sacred water, smeared ointments, and touched the king with peacock feathers to only further intensify the pain on the king's body. Then, at the request of the queen and the minister, Jnana Sambandar, the boy sage, smeared the right side of the king's body with the sacred vibhuti and sang the Devaram, Mandiramavadu Neeru.
மந்திரம் ஆவது நீரு, வானவர் மேலது நீரு. மந்திரம் ஆவது நீரு, வானவர் மேலது நீரு. சுந்தரம் ஆவது நீரு, துதிக்கப்படுவது நீரு. சுந்தரமாவது நீரு, துதிக்கப்படுவது நீரு. துதிக்கப்படுவது நீரு, துதிக்கப்படுவது நீரு.
The great heat subsided. The Jains approached the king and made him agree to test their respective faith. The sacred teachings written on palm leaves separately were consigned to flames. The palm leaves of Jains were consumed in a trice. Then Jnana Sambandar wrote, Shiva is the Lord. Placed the palm leaf containing the poems in the fire, and it shone above the fire unaffected. The palm leaves written with the words of praise about their deity